Have you ever wondered how far you'd go for love? What would you sacrifice to give your family a better life? Today's story will make you question everything you think you know about trust, loyalty, and the true price of distance. As always, everything else, including the show notes for this episode, is available. In the bustling city of Lagos, there lived a man who seemed to have it all figured out. Okafo wasn't just any banker. He was the kind of man who believed in doing things the right way. At 38, he had climbed to the peak of his career. His savings account was healthy, and he was finally ready to find the one thing money couldn't buy: true love. That's when fate stepped in. On what seemed like just another ordinary day, Okafo walked into a boutique to buy a new shirt. Behind the counter stood Mina, beautiful, intelligent, and unlike anyone he'd ever met. She wasn't just a sales girl. She was a university graduate who chose honest work over the easier paths some of her peers had taken. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something clicked. One conversation led to another, and soon they were sharing dreams over coffee, laughing about life, and falling deeper in love with each passing day. But what Okafo and Mina didn't know was that their love story was about to be tested in ways they never imagined. Their faith in each other would be challenged, their loyalty would be questioned, and they would learn that sometimes the biggest threats to a marriage don't come from outside. They come from the choices we make when we think nobody's watching. Yesterday's story, distance, isn't just about miles. It's about the space that grows between two hearts when trust begins to crack. And as Okafo and Mina are about to discover, that distance can either break a marriage or make it stronger than ever. Stay with me, because this story of love, betrayal, and redemption is one you won't want to miss. Picture this: Okafo, dressed in his crisp banker's suit, walking into the office like he owned the place. After 14 years of dedication, he practically did. He had everything society said a man should have: the corner office, the respect of his peers, and a bank account that made his mother proud. But something was missing. A man should be established before he brings a wife home, he would tell his friends, who questioned his single status. I want to give my future wife the kind of life she deserves. Little did he know, his future wife wasn't sitting in some high-riser office or exclusive club. She was working hard in a boutique, proving that true character isn't about where you work, but how you work. The day they met wasn't just another day. Okafo walked in looking for a shirt, but found his destiny instead. Mina's smile lit up the whole store, and her intelligence shone through in every word they shared. Before we discuss how to become a shirt, can I help you find something? She asked. But what she really found was his heart. Within weeks, they were inseparable. Coffee dates turned into dinner dates. Phone calls lasted until sunrise. And Okafo, the man who had planned everything in his life, found himself falling head over heels in a way he never planned. Their courtship was a whirlwind of joy. Mina wasn't just beautiful. She was hardworking, supportive, and shared Okafo's values. When he learned she was a graduate working honestly, despite better opportunities through compromising paths, his respect for her deepened even further. Then came the moment that would change their lives forever. One evening, under the Lagos stars, Okafo got down on one knee. "Mina," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, "you are everything I never knew I needed. Will you marry me?" The wedding was everything they dreamed of, a celebration of pure love and shared values. As they danced together as husband and wife, everyone could see it. This was a match made in heaven. Okafo had other plans, because sometimes the most perfect beginnings can lead to the most unexpected challenges. And for Okafo and Mina, their greatest test was just around the corner. The first 2 years of Okafo and Mina's marriage were everything they had dreamed of and more. Their love grew deeper with each passing day. Okafo, ever the provider, made sure his wife wanted for nothing. He even helped her leave her sales job, setting up a beautiful boutique that she could call her own. Mina, in turn, created a haven of peace for her husband, filling their home with love, laughter, and the kind of warmth money couldn't buy. But life has a way of testing even the strongest foundations. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Mina was at her boutique when she received a call that made her heart stop. Okafo was coming home early. Something was wrong. When she rushed home, she found her strong, confident husband sitting in the living room, tears streaming down his face. "They fired me," he whispered, his voice breaking. 14 years. I gave them 14 years of my life, brought in millions in revenue, and they fired me over one small mistake. Mina's heart broke seeing her husband so devastated. She held him close, whispering words of comfort, assuring him that with his experience and expertise, other banks would be fighting to hire him. But deep down, a seed of worry began to take root. 3 weeks later, that worry bloomed into full-blown fear when Mina discovered she was pregnant. The news that should have brought pure joy was now tainted with anxiety. Okafo tried to smile, to share in her excitement, but alone in their bedroom at night, his thoughts tormented him. What kind of father will I be if I can't provide? How can I celebrate bringing a child into this world when I can't even secure a job? But Okafo was a fighter. Every morning, he put on his best suit, polished his shoes until they gleamed and hit the pavement. He went from bank to bank, office to office, his qualifications impressive, his interviews seemingly perfect. Yet each time the response was the same: "We'll get back to you." It never did. 5 months passed and their savings began to dwindle. The only thing keeping them afloat was Mina's boutique business. She worked tirelessly, a pregnancy advancing but never complaining. Every night, she'd assure her husband everything will be better tomorrow. Tomorrow. Then came the news that would shake their world even further. They weren't having one baby, but two, twin boys. Okafo sat up all night after learning this, staring at their bank statement, his mind racing. 25 million naira in savings looked substantial, but with 2 babies on the way and no steady income, it wouldn't last forever. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Against his better judgment, Okafo decided to venture into business. He wasn't a businessman, he knew this. He was a career banker, someone who understood systems and structures, but with no jobs on the horizon, he had to try something. 20 million naira, that's what he invested in his first business venture, importing leather goods. His friends in the market had assured him it was a sure thing. For 5 weeks, he dared to hope, dared to dream of success. He even caught himself practicing how to say his new title, Chief Okafo, the business mogul. Then came the call that brought his world crashing down again. The ship carrying his container had capsized. 20 million naira gone in an instant. When Mina found him unconscious on the floor after receiving the news, she feared she'd lost not just their investment, but her husband too. The next few months were the darkest of their lives. Depression wrapped its heavy chains around Okafo, and thoughts of ending it all plagued him daily. Only Mina's love and the kicks of their unborn songs kept him tethered to hope. But their story was far from over. Sometimes when life pushes you to the edge, you discover strengths you never knew you had. And for Okafo and Mina, their greatest test and their greatest opportunity was just beginning. Well, 2 years after their financial crisis, reality had settled in like a heavy cloud over their home. The boutique that had once flourished was now struggling to keep its doors open. Their twin boys were growing fast, starting school, and their needs were increasing daily. The weight of their situation hung heavy in every conversation left unspoken, in every worried glance exchanged over their children's heads. One evening, after putting the twins to bed, Okafo called Mina to sit with him. His face bore the weight of a decision that had clearly cost him many sleepless nights. "My love," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "we need to talk about our future." He paused, gathering courage for what he needed to say. "I've been thinking about going abroad." Mina's heart stopped for a moment. She had heard stories about families torn apart by distance, about marriages that crumbled when oceans came between couples. "Abroad?" she echoed, her voice trembling. "You mean like Japa?" "Just for a few years," Okafo quickly added, seeing the fear in her eyes. "Look at us, my love. Your boutique is struggling. Every job application I submit here leads nowhere. Our savings are almost gone. The boys are growing and their needs are increasing. We need to do something drastic." The silence that followed was deafening. Mina's mind raced through all the stories she'd heard of men who found new lives abroad and forgot their families back home, of women who waited faithfully only to be abandoned, of children who grew up barely knowing their fathers. "But what about our marriage?" she finally asked, tears welling in her eyes. "What about us? I've heard so many stories of how these things end. Men go abroad and find white women, forget their families back home. I don't want to lose you, Okafo." He moved closer, taking her hands in his. "Mina, look at me. Have I ever given you reason to doubt my love, my loyalty? This isn't what I want, but it's what we need. I promise you, 2, maybe 3 years maximum. I'll work hard, save money, and then bring you and the boys to join me. We'll build a new life together." Days turned into weeks as they discussed the possibility. Each conversation was heavy with both hope and fear. Okafo laid out his plans. He would go to the UK, find work, and send for them as soon as possible. Mina alternated between reluctant acceptance and outright resistance. "But what about the boys?" she would ask. "They need their father. They need a future more," Okafo would respond, his heart breaking even as he said the words. Finally, after much prayer and discussion, they made their decision. Okafo would go to the UK. The first few weeks after he left were the hardest. Their home felt emptier, quieter. The boys would ask for their father every night, and Mina would show them his pictures, help them make video calls, trying to maintain their connection across the miles. In the UK, Okafo hit the ground running. He took the first job he could find, work as a laborer. It was a far cry from his banking days, but the weekly salary was more than his monthly earnings had been in Nigeria. Every penny he could spare, he sent home to Mina and the boys. Between shifts, he took courses to improve his qualifications. His days were long and lonely, but the thought of reuniting with his family kept him going. Within a year, his hard work paid off. He secured a better position with higher pay. But as the days grew shorter and the UK winter set in, the loneliness began to gnaw at him. The cold weather seemed to seep into his bones, making him yearn for the warmth of Lagos, and more importantly, the warmth of his family. Video calls and WhatsApp messages could only do so much to bridge the growing distance between them. Back in Nigeria, Mina faced her own battles with loneliness. Running the boutique, caring for the twins, and maintaining their home left her exhausted. But the nights were the hardest. The empty side of the bed seemed to mock her, reminding her of the price they were paying for a better future. Neither of them knew it yet, but their greatest test was still to come. Because sometimes the true cost of distance isn't measured in miles, but in the choices we make when we're apart. Life in the UK was starting to wear on Okafo. Despite his improving finances and career prospects, the loneliness felt like a physical weight on his chest. He found himself seeking connection, which led him to a community of fellow Nigerian men who had wives back home. At first, it seemed like a blessing. People who understood his situation, who could relate to his struggles. One evening, during a gathering at one of their homes, Okafo opened up about his struggles. "How do you all manage?" he asked, vulnerability clear in his voice. "I've been here less than 2 years, but I miss my wife terribly. I can't wait for Mina and the children to join me." The laughter that erupted in response caught him off guard. His new friends exchanged knowing looks before Chi, one of the more outspoken ones, spoke up. "My brother, you mean you've been faithful all this while? In this UK? With all these obo women around?" What followed was a shocking revelation of their true characters. One by one, they boasted about their infidelities, each story more disturbing than the last. Chika proudly declared how he kept his wife perpetually pregnant in Nigeria while enjoying affairs in the UK. Chi bragged about physically abusing his wife back home, knowing she couldn't fight back. Nandi revealed how his mother and sisters helped him control his wife through constant surveillance. Okafo sat there, disgusted, as these men laid bare their manipulative tactics and betrayals. Their words made his stomach turn. "What if your wives did the same to you?" he asked, unable to hide his disapproval. Meanwhile, back in Nigeria, Mina was fighting her own battles. During a moment of vulnerability, she confided in Efoma, Chika's wife, about her loneliness. "I miss him so much," Mina admitted, tears threatening to fall. "Some nights, the loneliness is unbearable. One that I miss you most. One that I miss you most." Efoma's response was unexpected and unsettling. With a knowing smirk, she introduced Mina to the concept of AWA, the Abroad Wives Association. "These men think they are smart," Efoma explained, "leaving us here while they enjoy themselves with white women. We've found our own way to cope." She went on to describe how the wives had created their own support system, one that involved finding local companions to meet their needs while maintaining a facade of faithfulness. "Who will catch us? Who will tell? We're all in it together," Efoma boasted. The proposition shook Mina to her core. She spent days wrestling with the temptation. The loneliness was real, the desire for companionship intense. But something deeper held her back: her faith, her values, and her love for Okapo. Back in the UK, Okafo made a decisive choice. After that revealing evening, he cut all ties with Chi, Chika, and Nandi. Their toxic influence wasn't worth the companionship they offered. Instead, he doubled his efforts to expedite his family's relocation. That night, he called Mina, his voice filled with emotion he couldn't quite explain. "My love, my heart, the mother of my children," he said, the words pouring out. "I'm working harder than ever to bring you all here. I love you, and I need you to never forget that." Mina, touched by his unexpected display of emotion, felt her own resolve strengthen. She decided to distance herself from Efoma and her dangerous influences. Instead, she threw herself into prayer, asking God for strength and guidance. She also began fasting, not just for herself, but for her marriage and family. Their parallel struggles and choices were shaping the future of their marriage, though neither fully knew what the other was facing. While their peers chose paths of betrayal and deceit, Okafo and Mina individually chose faith and loyalty. But the real test of their choices was yet to come. After cutting ties with his toxic friends, Okafor's life in the UK took on a new focus. Every extra shift, every overtime opportunity, every chance to earn more became a stepping stone toward reuniting his family. His new routine was simple but purposeful: work, study, save, and stay in touch with his family. The distance between him and those other Nigerian men created space for something better. He enrolled in professional development courses, improving his qualifications far beyond what they had been in Nigeria. His supervisors noticed his dedication, and within months he was promoted to a position that aligned more closely with his banking background. But it wasn't just his career that was transforming. Each video call with his family became more meaningful. He'd listen intently as the twins shared stories about school, watching their faces light up as they talked about their achievements. He'd spend hours discussing plans with Mina, not just about their future in the UK, but about their dreams, fears, and daily lives. Back in Nigeria, Mina was undergoing her own transformation. After rejecting Efoma's dangerous invitation to the AWA, she found strength in an unexpected place: solitude. Her decision to fast and pray wasn't just a religious exercise, it became a journey of self-discovery. She realized that her worth wasn't tied to her circumstances, but to her character. The boutique, which had been struggling, began to show signs of improvement. Mina's renewed focus and energy reflected in her business decisions. She streamlined her inventory, focused on what sold best, and built stronger relationships with her customers. It wasn't just survival anymore. She was building something sustainable. Their twins, now growing quickly, became her greatest motivation. They would often ask about their father, and instead of letting these moments bring sadness, Mina turned them into opportunities for hope. "Your daddy is working hard to give us a better life," she would tell them, "and soon we'll all be together again." What neither Okafo nor Mina realized was that their individual choices were creating a powerful synergy. While they struggled with loneliness and temptation separately, their faithful decisions were laying the groundwork for something beautiful. Then came the moment that would change everything. One evening, after another long day at work, Okafo received news that would accelerate all their plans. His company was offering him a permanent position, one that came with the ability to sponsor his family's visas. The path that had seemed so long and uncertain suddenly became clear and achievable. That night, his call to Mina was different. There was an excitement in his voice that she hadn't heard in months. "My love," he said, barely containing his joy, "I think it's time to start packing. I can finally bring you and the boys here." Mina could hardly believe her ears. After all their prayers, all their patience, all their faithfulness, it was finally happening. The news energized their entire household. The twins, picking up on their mother's excitement, began asking daily when they would see their father. But what made this moment even more special was that it wasn't just about relocating, it was about reaping the rewards of their faithfulness. While others had chosen easier paths, Okafo and Mina had chosen to honor their marriage vows, to trust each other, and to work toward their reunion. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. While their peers were building relationships on lies and deceit, Okafo and Mina had built something stronger through their separation. Their foundation wasn't just surviving, it was being reinforced by every faithful choice, every resisted temptation, and every sacrifice made for their family's future. As they began the process of reuniting, neither could have imagined how their steadfastness would be rewarded, or how dramatically different their fate would be from those who had chosen different paths. The day Mina and the twins arrived in the UK was like a scene from a movie. Okafo stood at the airport arrival gate, his heart pounding with anticipation. When he finally saw them coming through the doors, emotion overwhelmed him. The twins, who had grown so much since he'd last held them, ran towards him, shouting, "Daddy! Daddy!" Mina followed, tears streaming down her face as she walked into her husband's embrace. Their reunion wasn't just a happy ending, it was a new beginning. The family quickly settled into their new life together. Okafo had prepared everything meticulously, making sure their new home was comfortable and welcoming. The twins were enrolled in a good school, and Mina, with her business experience from the boutique, soon found opportunities to establish herself in their new community. One day, she went to school and prepared for the day. But while Okafo and Mina's family was flourishing, storm clouds were gathering over the lives of those who had chosen different paths. The consequences of infidelity and deceit were about to rain down hard. Chika, who had boasted about his affairs and manipulative tactics, was the first to fall. His papers expired, leading to his deportation back to Nigeria. But the real shock came when he decided to secretly test his children's DNA, a trending topic that had piqued his curiosity. The results shattered his world. Only his daughter was biologically his. All 5 sons, whom he had believed were carrying his bloodline, were fathered by other men. The news triggered a stroke, landing him in the hospital. His wife, Efoma, upon discovering that he knew the truth, acted swiftly and ruthlessly. She sold all his properties. She had access to all the documents and disappeared with all 6 children, including his only biological child. When Chika was discharged, he found himself not only physically disabled, but also homeless and penniless, forced to return to his village in shame. Nandi's fate was equally tragic. His promiscuous lifestyle caught up with him in the most devastating way. He contracted AIDS. The expensive health care costs in the UK forced him to return to Nigeria, hoping to live out his remaining days in peace. Instead, he found that his wife, Amaka, had discovered his condition. She swindled him of all his investments and fled with their children, leaving him with nothing. Chi's story took an ironic turn. His wife, Kazari, tired of waiting for an invitation that would never come, took matters into her own hands. She processed papers for herself and their children and surprised him in the UK. Chi, forgetting he was no longer in Nigeria, made a mistake of slapping her during an argument. Kazari immediately called the police, and Chi spent 3 days in jail. When he returned home, he was a changed man, cooking, cleaning, and walking on eggshells around his wife, terrified of being homeless in a foreign land. Meanwhile, Okafo and Mina's love continued to deepen. 5 years after their reunion, they welcomed a beautiful baby girl, a symbol of their renewed bond and growing family. Their life wasn't perfect, but it was filled with genuine love, trust, and mutual respect. Their home became known for its warmth and joy. The twins excelled in school, and the family could often be seen together in parks, shopping centers, and community events. They embraced their new life fully while maintaining their values and faith. One evening, as they sat together, watching their children play in their comfortable home, Okafo turned to Mina and squeezed their hand. No words were needed. They both knew that every sacrifice, every lonely night, every temptation resisted had been worth it. Their faithfulness had yielded a harvest of joy that their former friends, with all their scheming and cheating, could never understand. You know, Mina said softly, when you first left for the UK, I was so scared we'd lose each other. But look at us now. We are stronger than ever. Okafo smiled, watching their daughter toddler after her big brothers. We chose each other, my love. Every single day, we chose each other. And we always will. Now that we've seen how Okafo and Mina's story unfolded, let's talk about what their journey teaches us about long-distance marriages and relationships. Their story isn't just about love winning. It's about the choices that make love last. When Okafo first left for the UK, they faced the same challenges that test every long-distance relationship. The loneliness was real. The temptations were strong. The fear of losing each other haunted their quiet moments. Recording by Gla. But what set them apart was how they handled these challenges. Let's look at the crucial decisions they made. First, they maintained open communication. Remember how Okafo called regularly, not just to check in, but to share his dreams and fears with Mina, how they discussed their future together, included each other in decisions, and kept their emotional connection strong despite the physical distance. This wasn't just about staying in touch, it was about staying involved in each other's lives. Then there was their individual growth. Mina didn't just wait passively for Okafo's return. She worked on her boutique, raised their children, and most importantly, worked on strengthening herself spiritually. Okafo, meanwhile, didn't use distance as an excuse to live a double life. Instead, he focused on personal development, career growth, and creating a stable future for his family. Compare this with their friends' marriages. Chika played manipulative games, keeping his wife perpetually pregnant while living a life of infidelity. Now he's alone, his health ruined, his wealth gone, and 5 of his 6 children aren't even his. Nandi used his family to control his wife, only to end up losing everything to the very woman he thought he had under his thumb. Chi's abuse of his wife in Nigeria came back to haunt him when the power dynamic shifted in the UK. Their stories show us that karma has no expiration date. The seeds of deceit you plant today will eventually bear bitter fruit. Each of these men thought they were clever, thought they had figured out how to game the system of marriage. But in the end, their schemes collapsed under the weight of their own deception. But let's be honest, staying faithful in a long-distance relationship isn't easy. There's a reason why Nigerians say, body no be firewood. We are human with human needs and desires. The difference lies in how we handle these challenges. Mina could have joined the AWA when Ifoma invited her. She was lonely, missing her husband, dealing with the same desires that all separated couples face. But she chose a different path. She turned to her faith, focused on her children, and kept her eyes on the bigger picture. Okafo could have followed his friend's example. He had opportunities, just like they did. But he remembered something crucial, that true happiness comes from honor, not from momentary pleasure. He chose to honor his marriage vows, to respect his wife, and to work toward reuniting his family. Their choices paid off in ways they couldn't have imagined. While their friends' marriages crumbled under the weight of lies and betrayal, Okafo and Mina's relationship grew stronger through the test of distance. They didn't just survive the separation. They thrived because of how they handled it. This brings us to the heart of what their story teaches us about long-distance relationships. Success isn't about the distance between you, it's about the choices you make while you are apart. Every day, you choose whether to strengthen or weaken your bond. Every decision either builds trust or erodes it. Every action either honors your commitment or undermines it. Remember how Okafo and Mina ended up not just reunited, but stronger, more in love, more successful than before. Their new daughter wasn't just an addition to their family, she was a symbol of their renewed bond, a testament to the power of faithful love. Hello, my beautiful people. It's your favorite storyteller again, and today's story about Okafo and Mina has sparked some important questions that I'd love to explore with you. As we've seen, long-distance relationships can either strengthen or break a marriage, and it all comes down to the choices we make when no one is watching. The story of Okafo and Mina raises an important question that many of us face in today's world. Can we truly maintain a long-distance marriage without compromising our values? Some say it's impossible, that human beings aren't meant to live apart from their spouses. Others argue that with technology and commitment, anything is possible. But what do you think? As someone who might be considering a long-distance relationship or perhaps already in one, I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you believe you could handle the challenges that come with separation. At the same time, let's talk about trust for a moment. One of the most challenging aspects of long-distance relationships is dealing with the constant worry about faithfulness. We saw how both Okafo and Mini faced temptations and had opportunities to stray, yet they remained faithful. But they also had moments of doubt and fear about each other's fidelity. For those of you in long-distance relationships or marriages, how do you handle these fears? Do you have specific strategies for building and maintaining trust across the miles? Share your experiences in the comments below. Now let's address the elephant in the room: physical needs and desires. As our Nigerian brothers and sisters often say, body no be firewood. It's a real and valid concern. Both Okafo and Mina struggled with physical loneliness, and their peers offered them seemingly easy solutions through infidelity. For those who choose to remain faithful in long-distance relationships, how do you manage these natural desires? What advice would you give to others who are struggling with similar challenges? The story also highlighted how different couples handled the same situation. While Okafo and Mina chose faithfulness and open communication, others, like Chika and Efoma, chose deception and infidelity. Their contrasting fates show us that our choices have consequences, often reaching far beyond what we can initially see. Have you witnessed similar situations in your own life or among your friends? What lessons did you learn from observing these different approaches to long-distance relationships? I'm particularly curious about the role of community in sustaining long-distance relationships. We saw how negative influences like the AWA and Okafo's initial friend group could have derailed their marriage. On the flip side, positive support systems and faith help them stay strong. What kind of support system do you think is essential for maintaining a healthy long-distance relationship? How do you choose the right people to confide in and seek advice from? For those of you who have successfully navigated long-distance relationships, what wisdom can you share with others who are just beginning this journey? What do you wish someone had told you before you started? And for those who have experienced the challenges and perhaps the breakdown of a long-distance relationship, what warnings or advice would you give to others? Remember, my beautiful people, every relationship is unique, and what works for one couple might not work for another. But by sharing our experiences and insights, we can help each other make better choices and build stronger relationships. Please share your thoughts, experiences, and questions in the comments below. Let's create a supportive community where we can learn from each other's journeys. And before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who might need to hear. Your support helps me continue bringing you these meaningful stories that spark important conversations. Until next time, stay blessed, stay faithful, and remember, Love is always worth the effort when you choose it every single day. As we wrap up this story of love, faith, and redemption, let's take a moment to reflect on the deeper messages it carries for all of us. Okafo and Mina's journey wasn't just about surviving distance, it was about thriving despite it. The story reminds us that in every relationship we face crossroads where our choices shape not just our present, but our future and the futures of those we love. Looking at how their story ended, with a happy, united family in the UK, we might be tempted to think they were simply lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. Their success was built on a foundation of daily choices to remain faithful, to communicate honestly, to resist temptation, and to keep working toward their shared future. While their friends chose paths of deception and instant gratification, Okafo and Mina chose the harder road of honesty and patience. The results speak for themselves. The contrast between their outcome and those of their friends, Chika with his DNA shock and stroke, Nandi with his health crisis and abandonment, and Chi with his complete power reversal, teaches us something profound about karma and consequences. These weren't just random misfortunes. They were the natural results of choices made when they thought no one was watching. As the saying goes, what is done in darkness will eventually come to light. But perhaps the most powerful lesson from their story is about the true nature of love in marriage. Love isn't just a feeling that comes and goes with proximity. Real love, the kind that Okafo and Mina demonstrated, is an active choice made every single day. When Okafo chose to cut ties with toxic friends rather than be influenced by their behavior, he was choosing love. When Mina rejected the AWA and chose to focus on prayer and self-improvement, she was choosing love. When they both walked toward reunion instead of settling for permanent separation, they were choosing love. Their story also challenges our assumptions about power dynamics in relationships. The other couples in our story thought they could maintain control through manipulation, fear, and deceit. Yet in the end, these tactics led to their downfall. True power in a relationship comes from mutual respect, trust, and shared values. Exactly what Okafo and Mina built together despite their physical separation. For those of you facing similar challenges in your own relationships, remember that distance doesn't have to mean disconnection. Technology gives us ways to maintain emotional intimacy even when physical proximity isn't possible. But tools are only as good as how we use them. Regular video calls, messages, and shared plans for the future only work when they are backed by genuine commitment and honesty. The birth of their daughter after reunion symbolizes something beautiful about faithful love. It continues to create new life and new possibilities. While others lost everything they had built, Okafo and Mina's family grew stronger and larger. Their story shows us that what we build on truth and faithfulness lasts, while what we build on lies eventually crumbles. As we end this story, I want to remind you that your own story is still being written. Whether you're in a long-distance relationship now, considering one, or simply trying to navigate the complexities of love and commitment, you have the power to choose your path. Will you choose the easier road of compromise and instant gratification, or will you, like Okafo and Mina, choose the harder but ultimately more rewarding path of faithfulness and truth? My beautiful family, before you go, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with me through this powerful story. Your presence and engagement mean the world to me, and I believe together we can create a community where we support each other through life's challenges, especially in matters of the heart. Today's story about Okafo and Mina has touched on issues that many of us face in our modern world, and I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences. First, I want to invite you to share your own experiences with long distance relationships in the comments below. Whether you are currently in one, have experienced one in the past, or are considering one in the future, your story matters. What challenges have you faced? What strategies have helped you maintain your connection? Your insights could be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. Remember, there's strength in sharing our stories, and someone reading the comments might find hope or guidance in your words. For those of you who have been following my channel, you know that I'm passionate about creating content that not only entertains but also helps us grow and learn from each other. If this story resonated with you, please consider hitting that subscribe button and joining our family. Every week, I bring you stories that tackle real life situations, relationships, and the choices we face. By subscribing, you will never miss these important conversations, and you'll be part of the community that values honesty, growth, and support. The like button might seem like a small gesture, but it helps these stories reach more people who might need to hear them. Think about it. Somewhere out there, someone might be struggling with the same challenges Okafo and Mina faced. Your simple act of liking and sharing this video could help that person find the guidance they need. It's amazing how a single click can create ripples of positive change in someone's life. I also want to encourage you to share this video with someone who might need this message. Maybe you know a friend or family member in a long-distance relationship, or someone who's considering taking that path. Share this story with them. Sometimes, seeing how others navigate similar challenges can give us the strength and wisdom we need to make better choices in our own lives. If you've been touched by this story or have questions about similar situations in your life, feel free to reach out in the comments. I read every comment and do my best to respond, because I believe in building a real connection with each of you. Your questions and insights often inspire future stories and discussions, making this a truly interactive community. For those asking about more content like this, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way, you'll know immediately when I post new stories about relationships, life challenges, and the choices we face. Every Wednesday, I bring you fresh content that aims to inspire, educate, and sometimes even challenge our perspectives on life and love. Remember, my beautiful people, we're all on this journey together. Whether you're dealing with relationship challenges, life transitions, or difficult choices, you're not alone. This channel is more than just stories. It's a family where we support each other, learn from each other, and grow together. Your presence here makes this community stronger and more beautiful. Until next time, keep choosing love, keep choosing faithfulness, and keep choosing growth. Let's continue building this amazing community together, one story at a time. Stay blessed, stay positive, and remember, your story matters too. I'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Much love to you all.